Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the KickCast. We've had a 3-week break, guys. This is the longest break I think we've ever had. The A-League season is over. Socceroos have already qualified for the World Cup. The Matildas still aren't getting results. Nothing's really changed in Australian football over the past 3 weeks, except for some really outrageous transfers, which we'll get into very shortly. I am Neil Simons, coming to you live from central London, and I'm joined by my fellow European teammate, Petar Petrov, and you lowly Australian, Tom Williams. Petar, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, guys. Nice to see you again. Just want to say quickly, I'm for the first time, I'm absolutely not prepared for this podcast, so it's gonna be just soccer chat and shit.
I think it's the off season. I think we can leave a bit of lenience there. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Neil. Great to be back on the KickCast.
Keeping it short and simple, Tom. You've obviously had a pretty big week.
Once.
Oh well, yeah. You've had a pretty big week, mate. Tell us about your World Cup expedition and the fact that you're going there. Tell us the process of ticketing for that and sort of how that's gone through.
Well, look, it's a bit of a nightmare, the process for ticketing. It's mainly just a bit of luck and then knowing a few tricks of the trade. So, I mean, so I've got 15 games, but in 14 or 15 days, there's a couple days when we're going to multiple games in one day, just because what else are you going to go to see in Qatar? Apart from
the fan villages,
Yeah, but like if you're watching games in the fan village, you're like, you may as well just go to the game, you know? Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
So half of the games were just like, yeah, may as well. But look, it was last night was a bit hectic because it was the first come first serve, and it was the last first come first serve, and it was absolute hackers, like literally hundreds of thousands of people just getting onto the online queuing system at the same time. If anyone's interested in getting tickets for the next World Cup or wants to know a few tricks, basically just save the URL from the ticketing site to your browser, and then join the queue like half an hour before, and then they post the link to the browser about at exactly 7 on the site. But they actually start the queue at 6:55, so 5 minutes before. So you can get in 5 minutes before everyone else did, which is how I got like.
This is oddly specific. This is
Chief
oddly
Court
specific.
But I wasn't going to tell anyone this. I didn't want to tell anyone this beforehand because didn't want everyone getting on my tickets. So that's how you like game the system slightly to get an advantage. And yeah, we were very fortunate because we managed to get like England versus USA, Croatia versus Belgium.
That's the real battle. That's the real battle. England versus USA.
Yeah, right. And we already had a couple of big games, but yeah, those ones are going to be massive, I reckon.
We got a comment from Jules334 on Twitter. Do you know Fabregas is in talks with West United? I don't understand that they are in talks. There's been chatter from Adam Peacock over at Code Sports that Fabregas is linked to several clubs. Take those reports as you wish. So yeah, we'll get into that later. But I think we'll start off with the podcast name is Nani with a question mark. Nani, former Manchester United winger, linked to the Melbourne victory, broken by Keep360's very own Tom Williams. Me and Tom worked on this together, and this is obviously a massive story. It's been a huge week in general, just seeing the reaction from this news, and the gravity of such a signing would be massive. Also, shout outs to Adam Peacock and Sporting News for also reporting that news as well, and confirming it, I guess, in some way. But Nani is potentially on his way to the Melbourne victory. And I will sort of segue into this, knowing that Marco Rojas is off to Colo-Colo in Chile. Tom, what do you make of this signing? And I know you've talked to like 15,000 radio outlets, but this is the official outlet for Kick360, so the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very big signing on numerous levels. I think what I'd like to focus on primarily is just the quality that Nani will bring to Melbourne Victory's team. I think he's a very creative player, and particularly with Jason Davidson leaving to go overseas, I think Victory were lacking somewhat in that creative department. I think Jake Bremer had to shoulder the vast majority of those creative responsibilities towards the end of last season, alongside Davidson, obviously. But well, that's what I think Nani will bring. He's actually got the second highest rate for expected assists per 90 in, or it was either expected assists or assists per 90 in Premier League history, behind Kevin De Bruyne, which is quite ridiculous. So that paints a picture of the
I think it was per 90.
Yeah. So that like paints the sort of picture of the player that Victory are signing here. I don't necessarily think he's going to be the most prolific goal scorer ever, but he doesn't really need to be. Victory have D'Agostino and Juric still on their books, so as long as he's providing for the both of them, then he'll be doing a good job. And I think he also gives them that level of experience in that final third that Melbourne Victory was sort of lacking towards the end of last season as well, with Falami, D'Agostino and Brimmer being the sort of vital cogs of that attack alongside Marco Rojas, who, as you mentioned, is leaving.
Petar, your thoughts? No, your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys about, from a tactical point of view, I think Nani played a couple of games as a striker for Orlando, so that would be interesting. With Mark Jota gone, could he be playing as a 9 from time to time, maybe?
It was interesting as well that you mentioned that, because his statistics when playing centrally for Orlando were like really, really, really good, even as a number 10. So I think it would be difficult to displace Brimmer in that respect, and same with D'Agostino if he played up top. But what I think this gives Victory is that extra flexibility, because with Economides, Falami, Brimmer, D'Agostino, Juric, Nani to all work through those 4 different positions in the final third, because as we know, Victory have played 2 up top in games prior, not necessarily Brimmer as a 10, but also Brimmer playing closer to the striker, someone else playing closer to the striker. So that gives the flexibility to play perhaps D'Agostino and Nani up top. And then if someone like Marchand or Brillante is injured, you could drop Brimmer back into more of a box-to-box position. And Victory sort of lack depth in that area. So knowing that Brimmer has the versatility to perform that role and that Nani can perform that role as a second striker or as a number 10 or even as a more sort of vertical centre forward, it gives Victory that extra flexibility and unpredictability.
Any other word on this, guys, or sort of do you want to move on to the more sort of I'm going to say this marketing impacts of this potential move? Any footballing things, because it's a bit hard to sort of tell where he'll fit in with the absence of Marco Rojas. They're quite similar players, but Nani doesn't really have that level of explosiveness that he used to. Obviously, he's 36.
Yeah, I think he can fit in on both wings. I think now that Economides will be, I guess he'll be fitter after a whole season getting up to fitness. Maybe in most of the games, Nani would prefer to play on the left, but we know that that's Fulham's position at the moment. But I think with Economides fit, they can rotate all over the park, all 3 of them.
For sure. I guess sort of moving into this, Tom, there was a lot of talk about Nani and the move and what it means for the A-Leagues and for everything else. The list of 35 marquees has been identified. You assume that Nani's a target. Do you see any intrinsic aspects or sort of facets to this move? And I think from a holistic perspective, did Victory really need to sign Nani? If you look at it from a commercial perspective, did they really need this, or is it really the jumpstart they need to get massive crowds again?
Commercial-wise, I don't think Victory ever need this type of a marquee because they're the biggest club in the country. But I think what you've got to look at it, if you're a Melbourne Victory supporter or if you're a fan of football in general, is that you've got to look at Nani's quality as a footballer, because irrespective of the potential commercial benefits that he could bring to the league and the football club, Victory are signing a very, very good footballer. Even if this wasn't somebody who had the Premier League experience of Nani. So let's say we were just signing, or Victory were just signing Joe Bloggs from the MLS, but this was Joe Bloggs who scored 10 goals and had 7 assists in the last MLS season. I think you'd be pretty excited. Like, people were going mad about Carlos Vela potentially coming to the A-League at one point, and he had sort of similar numbers in the MLS. There's a lot of very good players in that league, particularly attacking players, and I think Nani's quality as a footballer is absolutely immense. So Victory is signing someone very good in that respect. Commercially wise, I've mentioned before that I don't think he'll have this insane impact or game-changing impact on Victory's crowds. But I also think it's difficult to measure, because I think next season, when there's like no sort of COVID, nothing wrong with the scheduling, no midweek games, Victory's crowds will increase anyway. So it won't be like it's going to be impossible to sort of quantify the causation between Victory signing Nani and the crowds inevitably be improving next season when there's no sort of broken up season with midweek games, etc.
Yeah. Petar, have you got anything to add on that front?
I want to say the same thing. Like, basically, the crowds were really low this year because, like, COVID at first, and then all the congested schedule and a lot of fixtures being played in like 20 days. So yeah, the fact that most midweek fixtures will be gone will definitely raise the numbers.
Absolutely. Moving on, I'll guess sort of the final discussion on this Nani front is, as a league-wide approach to go for these marquees, do you guys sort of subscribe to that notion? Do you think it is a different strategy implemented by the A-League? And this is from my angle. I see the A-League being 15 years behind the MLS in this respect, because, you know, I'm not going to compare Nani to like David Beckham or anything.
Yeah.
But if there's a directive now to go for big marquees, and let's be honest, Del Piero in 2012 was that directive. You know, I understand why we're going back to these methods, but it just seems that I don't want to compare us to the MLS, but it's like the only other salary cap league in the world. So, I don't know. I feel as if we're in a position where we can develop our own talent, but it's very concerning to me that we have to rely on sugar hits still to provide an added injection into the league. Not saying the Nani signing is a bad thing. I'm a United fan at the end of the day, so I'm buzzing. So I don't really care. But I guess stripping back all the other layers to it, there is cause for concern.
I actually want to mention David Beckham when we talk about Fabregas, so I guess I'll leave that for a bit later. But yeah, when it comes to the marquees, I think people just should focus more on the football side of things. Like, just leave the crowds and stuff aside. They'll come naturally if the games are good and if there are good players there. And signing a big name doesn't mean that he'll be a good player, as we've seen with Sturridge. That deal was never going to be a success because he hadn't played football for like 2 years. He was never going to be fit. He was never fit when he was fit. So how can he be fit now? I mean, I guess you know what I'm saying, but yeah. So yeah, I think just people should focus on more on players like Tilio and Brimmer, players that are developed in Australia and going places, definitely. So yeah, I think the marquee stuff, it's fine. I think I understand why they're doing it, but I'd like them to like change their approach a bit. Like now in the MLS, I know, yeah, the A-League's probably 10 years behind them, but they're signing players like Bernardeschi, who is in his prime, and Cucho Hernandez, the guy from Watford, he's 23. So yeah, I think signing players at that age will definitely help on the football side more than signing a 47-year-old Fabregas. I want the guy.
I think just to add to that as well, I agree, and I think you need a good balance of both as well. Like you mentioned, signing those younger players. Look what Daniel Pena did for the league last season, as sort of a young foreign signing. He was arguably the best player in the league, and now he's gone to one of the biggest clubs in Korea, in Daegu, been announced earlier today. So I think you really do need a mix of these sort of players and the likes of your Nani, your Fabregas, etc., because you need something that can drive the gate receipts. And then hopefully if someone comes to a game to go and watch Fabregas or to come and watch Nani, hopefully then they'll see the quality on show in this league, because as much as it's easy to sort of trivialize the quality of the league at times, there are some fantastic games in this league. And particularly like derbies, like the Melbourne Derby last season, Christmas Derby was a phenomenal game of football, the 2-2.
And the FA Cup final.
Yeah, and the FA Cup final. There's no reason that any football appreciating person, let alone football loving person in this state or this country, wouldn't want to be a part of an atmosphere like that, and especially when there's good football being played. So I think it's really important that these clubs can sign players like Nani, particularly when they actually have the capacity to still play good football, unlike someone like Sturridge who was really unfit, etc. So that's sort of my question mark over Fabregas, by the way. But we'll get to that, I'm sure. But yeah, look, it's a sort of the lesser of two evils and a double-edged sword in that respect. But I think these sort of players like Nani particularly, and even Charlie Austin to some extent, not as big a name, of course, but he's still not at the peak of his powers, but he's still someone that could produce at a good level in the A-League, I think. So hopefully there'll be a few more of these signings coming through, and I'm sure we'll discuss Fabregas as well.
Milos Ninkovic is red and black. I don't think I'd ever say that sentence, but a month ago when he did announce that he was leaving the club, and he did think that he'd be off to MacArthur because he was linked to that, I think, 2.5 years ago. But he is a Western Sydney Wanderers player. This is the biggest move in the A-League from a domestic perspective in years. I'd say biggest since Costa Barbarouses to Sydney FC. It's really incomprehensible, the chronic mismanagement from Sydney FC, higher ups more specifically. The reports is that Ninkovic would have to get an Australian citizenship in order to remain with the club. Look, I'm happy to give Sydney FC the right to reply, but that's what's been reported. So he's off to the Wanderers. Wow. On a 1-year deal with the scope for him to continue his coaching career there when his playing career finishes. Petar, you've seen a lot of how do I say this, betrayals in your lifetime. You know, Luis Figo. I guess. I mean, do we count Bonucci?
I think we can count Fabregas actually.
Yeah, Fabregas as well. Robin van Persie. Sol Campbell as well. Yeah, there are plenty. What do you think about this?
When you mention Sol Campbell, I think that's actually the A-League equivalent of it. Yeah, Sol Campbell was at his prime, but Ninkovic is basically the Sydney FC's best ever player, according to many fans and football people. So yeah, I guess a lot of people already said that. I think it's a good move for the league and for the derby, but it's not really ideal move for any of the three parties. I think maybe it's a good move for Ninkovic because he'll be getting a lot of cash and probably not playing a lot of football. But I don't think I'm not really sure that's the profile Western Sydney needed in that team. They already have young wingers who are like developing. Maybe Ninkovic could help them. We'll see, a job share or something like that. But I think it's not an ideal move for any of the three parties.
I would like to bring your sorry. So before hold that thought, Tom. I'd like to bring your attention to the Fairfax report where Alex Bross spoke on Milos Ninkovic. Some very damning comments here. As a football fan, it should have never happened. I'm genuinely upset at all three parties involved. I'm upset at Sydney FC. I'm unhappy with Ninkovic. I'm unhappy with the Wanderers. He says the derby is not about the clubs. Derbies are not about the players. They are about the fans. For Ninkovic to join the Wanderers is a slap in the face to every fan. I don't know if he fully comprehends that. As someone who has played in huge derbies, what have you, he knows what it's all about, and that's where I expected more from him. And there's this pervading notion that Ninkovic's legacy is finished at Sydney FC. And I see that sentiment echoed by many Sydney FC fans. Tom, your thoughts?
Well, I think Brosk has sort of hit the nail on the head there in terms of his analysis on the situation itself, particularly with respect to how the Sydney fans are seeing this. But to be honest, I see both sides of the equation, because if the stuff that Ninkovic said was true in terms of the citizenship debacle, then I think that's absolutely horrendous from Sydney FC. I think that's such utter disrespect to one of the best players that's ever played for that football club. And ultimately, you've got to think of it as a human, think of Ninkovic as a human being in this case as well. He's wanting to prolong his career. There's no reason why this guy would let some sort of ulterior factor dictate the length of or the longevity of his career. So if it's true that they were trying to re-sign him, but on the proviso that he wouldn't count as an Australian, that he would count as an Australian citizen, then I think that is so bad from Sydney, because ultimately, if Ninkovic didn't receive his Australian citizenship in time, then that's his career over. Like, no other club will take him that far out from the season. I'm not sure they have the capacity to as a foreign player. So I understand why Ninkovic is doing it. I don't think he's winning himself many sort of fans over this, but I do understand why he's doing that if it's true. But I think it is ruining his legacy as a Sydney FC player, and he's had so many great moments for Sydney FC. But ultimately, this is how he's going to be remembered.
As a great man said, you were the chosen one. You were meant to be bringing balance to the force. Although in this case, it is balance to the Sydney Derby, and I think he's done so. He will be signing for the Western Sydney Wanderers. Petar, let's talk about the Wanderers in this equation. We've talked about Sydney FC. We've talked about Milos Ninkovic, the Wanderers. Now, he seems very passionate to join the club, is Milos Ninkovic. And Rudan clearly sees something in him. He started, I believe, 15 out of 22 games that he played last season, something along those lines. So he's averaged around 60 minutes per game. So he can contribute. And I heard Joey Lynch on the TNC podcast say that if Ninkovic's mind is still working, he's a very valuable asset. And I have to agree with him. His legs may be gone, but he possesses this technical ability and footballing IQ that is really sort of unforeseen in A-League circles. But for the Wanderers, how does he fit in terms of squad composition?
I think that's a hard question, because we saw Mark Rudan use a couple of different formations last season, and I'm pretty sure that neither of them was his preferred, because he basically didn't want to use Hamed, which meant he had to play a midfielder as a central forward, which then meant that he had to use another midfielder as a left winger, and it was like all over the place. So I guess if let's say they play a 4-3-3, because I think that's how he'll start the season. I'm pretty sure Ninkovic will just slot in as the left-sided winger, or maybe as a 10. Depends on what they want from him, because I don't think he's the type of player that can control games for the whole game. He's more of an impact player that can like create something in the moment of brilliance. But at this age, maybe they'll just use him for like half an hour or so. Half of the game or something like that. But I'm pretty sure we won't see like something extravagant from him being used as a 6 or something like that. That would be absurd.
Reduce the Ninkovic.
Reduce the Ninkovic. Oh, geez, that would be certainly very interesting. Yeah, I mean, look, Ninkovic is a Wanderers player. Just a message to APL: please don't make the Derby round 1. I would like some momentum, please. That'd be great. Round 3. Although do it before my uni exams. I want to head off to see the SFS.
I'm sorry. I've just got this picture of Ninkovic playing as a 6 under Mark Rudan, and it's giving me flashbacks of Adam Lallana in his last season at Liverpool, when Klopp just knew he was surplus to requirements but thought that he'd still play him, and then Lallana was just sitting there doing Cruyff turns in his own half.
Inverted Callum McGregor, just make him a 6.
It would be so funny with Rodwell playing ahead of him. Like, Rodwell was usually a teammate playing ahead of Ninkovic.
We can't forget the biggest signing of them all, guys. I signed for Tottenham yesterday, so hey, there we go.
Showing in the midfield next to Yves Bissouma. Second destroyer in midfield.
His jersey actually wasn't in the locker room, which I thought was quite interesting.
That's weird.
Yeah, there you go. Lovely stadium though at Tottenham. I loved it. The Chiking as well, like opposite the stadium, was great as well. Lovely stadium, must say. But Lakeside Stadium is superior. Moving on. A-League transfers. We'll just run through these quickly. We'll go through like within the past 2 weeks. So Charlie Austin to Queen's Park Rangers. We've obviously talked about him a little bit. What do you guys think? Sorry, Charlie Austin, Brisbane Roar. Sorry, I'm completely. He came from QPR. My apologies.
I think it's a really, really intelligent signing from Brisbane Roar. And again, it's not even for the name value or the fact that he's played in the Premier League for multiple years, but it's just the fact that he's a proven goal scorer. And they didn't have anyone that could score goals last season. They tried that Lescano guy up top, and he was absolutely useless. So the fact that they've got someone that's capable of scoring goals at a high level and has shown that he can do it in the Premier League and the Championship, I think bodes well for Brisbane, because they were actually one of the highest ranked teams in the league for expected goals last season. And they just didn't really have someone that could put them away. I think Jay O'Shea and Ramat Akbari were a phenomenal midfield pairing. I think O'Shea is one of the best players in the league. So having O'Shea on set pieces as well to cross to Austin, who we know is phenomenal in the air. I think hashtag crossing is bossing when you got Austin. But they'll just be crossing to him, and he'll really be a fox in the box and a bit of a poacher for Brisbane. Some sort of player that they actually need, really.
I also must say, like, his personality is like amazing. Like, this guy is a complete shithouse. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, it's this guy actually sounds passionate to like play here, which is really great. And I think it's more personalities are better. Gives me a very Adam Lafondra vibe as well.
Yeah, and on Lafondra as well, like, he played at a higher level than Lafondra, probably for longer. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I'm not sure how long Lafondra played in the Premier League.
Lafondra played like 1 year for Reading, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Whereas Austin was at Southampton for a few years.
Yeah.
So or at least 2 seasons, I think. 17, 18, 16, 17 probably. Something like that.
Also, by the way, I just want to say this now. Whoever's listening or watching, Aaron Moy has not been announced to be leaving Shanghai SIBG. There's a lot of rumors that Fabrizio Romano reported this. It's just not true. He has not reported anything on his Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. So that I can just deny, because there's nothing that's been happening at all. If he has been released, great news. He needs to play football, man. He needs to play football. There's nothing been announced by Fabrizio Romano, by the way. But I just thought I just had to get that out. I have to get that out anyway. But Petar, have you got any other words on Charlie Austin?
Yeah, I remember him actually being linked with Man United after his first season in QPR in the Premier League, which is crazy. I think he got like 25 combined goals and assists in that season. And Lafondra never got close to those numbers.
Very fair. Let's also forget
and as well,
I signed for England yesterday as well. I'm the new England manager. Come on, guys. Okay, I'm sorry. I need to stop.
we saw how good Lafondra was in the A-League when he was a bit younger as well. So, and Lafondra is not a particularly how do I say this? Not a particularly flashy or sort of cultured footballer in terms of his technical quality or his skill set. But
what do you mean? He plays Football Manager. What do you mean? He plays FM on the daily, man.
but he's got those sort of intangible qualities in terms of his goal sense and his ability to be in the right place at the right time. When I think Austin could possibly bring something similar and be perhaps as prolific for Brisbane as Lafondra was for Sydney early in his A-League career.
I think that will depend on the fact like how the team functions, but I think it's Austin's undoubtedly better striker than Lafondra, in my opinion.
And I think one interesting thing to monitor as well, given Austin's aerial threat, is if Brisbane will return to the wing backs, because they started the last season with the wing backs, but they were like playing pretty poorly, and then Warren Moon just went to the 4-4-2. So it'll be interesting to see whether they revert back to that sort of 3-4-2-1 where we saw Dan Zaki was a really good player as one of those free tens. Because I think if you have the width with those wing backs to cross the ball, get higher up the pitch and cross the ball to Austin, then I think that can be a bit of a dangerous pattern of play.
I think Danzaki has actually been linked with them again today.
I've seen stuff flying around about that, yeah.
Yeah, let's say we've seen a lot of accounts on Twitter the other day reporting stuff. Take it with a grain of salt. If I say more, yeah, I think it's it's funny. I mean, there is one really funny account, but I'm sure we all know we all know who it is. Friend of the pod. Moving on. Just there's so many here from Charlie Austin. I think we'll just put a thumbs up or thumbs down, maybe a couple of words on each. We'll start with you, Petar. Ben Warland to Adelaide United.
Rotation option.
Fair enough.
Won't start for them.
Tom?
Rotation option. Won't start for them.
Fair enough. Josh Soterio to with Newcastle.
Trent Buharger backup. I think overall Newcastle's recruitment system has been great this summer, and I think they've actually upgraded in every position they've signed a player, so they'll be one to watch. I think they could potentially get top 3 if their best players are fit for the whole season.
Tom?
Yeah, I think Soterio can score goals. I think he can be a bit of an impact off the bench, to be fair. He's quite good at actually like timing his runs off the last line. I actually like him more centrally than on the wing. So I don't know how Pappas will use him, but yeah, I think he could be a good sort of impact player off the bench for them.
Running footer. Sorry. Anyway, Tommy Juric to Melbourne Victory. This actually went under the radar. I thought not many people really talked about this. Tom.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think he'll be guaranteed to start just by virtue of the fact that he didn't play much last season for MacArthur. But I'm worried that this will lead, or not necessarily worried, but I'm sort of weary of the fact that this may have consequential effects on D'Agostino in terms of whether he may be leaving to go to Europe, because I don't really understand why you'd sign Tommy Juric to just sit on the bench. I know he sat on the bench for MacArthur and stuff, but he was obviously planning to be a first choice number 9 for them last season. So, yeah, it'll be interesting with Juric. I think he's obviously shown in the past that he's a really good player. He's never been a very prolific goal scorer, but he can be quite good with his back to goal, and his first touch is usually pretty safe. So, yeah, at the very minimum, he's a very good player to bring off the bench for Victory. And if he hits his form, like he's played like 40 games for the Socceroos, I think, or something like that, 20 games maybe.
Yeah. 40 odd games. Yeah, 40 odd games.
40 odd caps for the Socceroos. So he's obviously a decent player at A-League level if he gets form and confidence. But whether he does and whether he gets enough minutes to actually get form and confidence is, I guess, remains to be seen.
Ahmad Taleb to Melbourne City. Melbourne Victory. Sorry, go on. Sorry,
just on Juric, he was extremely bad in Bulgaria. He was terrible. But yeah, I think just maybe he's signing for Victor just to give him different options, nothing more.
Yeah,
why not? I mean, we do have another Australian at CSKA Sofia as well. You can catch that interview at the website. Ilya Semenov-Trenkov, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Petar, you need to provide me the pronunciation.
Yeah, Ilya Trenkov.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, he's just let's say he's 50-50 Australian.
Yeah, he was born here. Anyway.
Yeah, Brisbane.
Yeah, happens. Ahmad Taleb to Melbourne Victory on a scholarship contract. Yeah, no, I don't really. I mean, if I'm assuming Marko Bulic has left the club or something like that. But I don't know. Ellie Adams to Victory on a scholarship. This could be a smoky. I think I'd say he's better than Lewis Laurie Latanzio, which is they're very similar.
Not hard.
Certainly.
My guy's playing for what? What he's playing for NPL SA club? I think Cumberland United. Oh, jeez.
The
No, not
question is-
Cumberland. Sorry, no, not Cumberland. That's where Ayon Majok was from. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, Ellie
The only
Adams.
club he's playing at is Revolver on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
The question is he better than Leighton Brooks?
Ooh,
I don't know.
Brooks is actually all right.
Leighton Brooks is a good player. I just think he's sort of the downside of when Victory actually have a good team, he doesn't really feature. He's turning 22 next year, so
Yeah, I
he's
think
getting
he was
along.
younger.
He's not getting any younger. Yeah, I think he actually won Victory Player of the Season award last year. So
Yeah,
hey,
young
I
player.
think, yeah, I still think there's room for him to improve. But I would like
Nishan is much better than all of them, just slightly.
Nishan's a very talented player, I must say.
Yeah.
Rory Jordan too, the Newcastle Jets, first reported by your boy as well. Might have to get that out. Confirmation. Rory Jordan up to the Jets. It's been good at NPL for Northbridge, but Northbridge are last, so does it really matter? Probably not. Lucas Moragas to Wellington Phoenix on a loan deal. This one caught me by surprise. What do you guys think?
Another nondescript A-League recycler.
Yeah, just a straight swap with Magari, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's literally a trade. I mean, as you can see, obviously James McGarry did make that move to the Jets, which is, I think, a good signing. I actually rate him as a left back. I think he's quite good. I guess I want some parting words for Manuel Pucciarelli, guys. This man had it so hard. I feel so bad for him. Manuel Pucciarelli.
I don't feel bad for him. He was a contract earning probably like $500,000 a week to sit in a Melbourne apartment and do nothing all season. I wish my life was that good.
I do feel for him a little bit, though. I mean, he did come here with the expectation to play. Played 45 minutes against Hume City, got an assist. They're an NPL side. Like, I don't know. I feel bad for him, put it that way. Tom Bedling to Wanderers. This was a very interesting one as well.
Yeah.
Tom, you actually did a story on it. He's played in the lower tiers of England, and this is his first time returning to Australia in a long time. Was a part of the Sunderland youth system as well. I'd say for an Australian player, not a bad signing.
I had never heard of him ever. He seemed like one of those weird players that you always sort of like pick up in Football Manager when you're trying to like fill out your Australian quota because you can't sign any more foreign players. Sort of like Panos Armanakis and like Peter Guargis and all these like random like pseudo Australian players playing overseas that you've just like never heard of in real life. And then you see them on Football Manager and you're like, is this just some like random player that they've just made up? But
it's very similar to like there's this kid called Matthew Schumacher who plays for like Consalado Sapporo's under 18s, and he just happens to be Australian. He's playing. He's like Australian, playing as a goalkeeper in like a Japanese youth system. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
it's so random.
That's so weird.
Go on. Go on.
But I think, look, I doubt someone of his pedigree, sort of playing in the lower leagues in England, will come to the A-League and be a starting player. But I think in terms of squad depth for Western Sydney, I think apparently he can play as sort of like a defensive midfielder and as a centre-half. I can't see him sort of usurping either Basanic or who was the other midfielder that Western Sydney signed. They signed another good number 6 or number 8.
Amalfitano.
Amalfitano. They signed someone else as well.
Yanni Nebakoto. I think that's it.
I think he's a winger.
Yeah, he's a winger. I'm forgetting someone. I feel like they signed another midfielder. Maybe I'm wrong. No, but they could re-sign Rodwell. That's it. They could have Rodwell and Basanic at the base of the midfield.
He's going to Sydney FC, guys, remember?
I doubt I doubt that this beetling fella is going to displace either Basanic or Rodwell. So maybe he'll start as a centre-back. I don't really know. I've never seen him play. So, yeah, who knows?
Sorry?
Yeah, the thing with Tom Bidling is I just checked. He's missed like 50% of the games he could have played in the last 3 seasons, which isn't great. He has a lot of injury problems, like a few ankle injuries. I can see
Perfect
here.
for Wanderers then. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Fantastic. Nah, I'm joking. Nah, I wish in
So
the
yeah,
best.
injury record's not great.
Nah,
Another Sturridge 2.0.
nah. Look, it's a low salary option for Wanderers. I think it's a good option, good for depth, and they need that considering they lost Steven Jugakovic to
And
the Phoenix
Bacchus.
and Bacchus as well.
Bacchus
as
is
well.
the big one. Bacchus
Big
is
one.
the big one.
Wishing the
He
best to
was-
St. Mirren.
Yeah,
Wishing the best.
100%.
Yeah. By the
He
way,
was really
that tribute video for Bacchus from Wanderers was fantastic. Probably the first legend that they've had, which is really cool. Paul Ayongo. This was a very interesting one from Academy di Viseu. This was apparently he had European interest. What do you define as European interest though? Like,
Is this the centre forward Central Coast signed? Yeah, like the Ghanaian guy?
got a Ghanaian, yeah.
He was playing in like the Portuguese second div, wasn't he? Or something
Yeah,
like
he
that?
had a decent season. I think
Yeah.
he scored 10 goals.
Yeah.
Could be a smoky.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting one. Central Coast must have like an actual scouting team beyond just.
They do.
like,
No,
the
they do.
biggest
They have.
depths
I'm
of
not even
Y-Scout,
joking here.
because-
They have like genuinely one of the best scouting systems. Like they picked up the quals for a reason. Like Jacob Farrell and that. Like I don't know how what they do. Like
I'm
I don't know.
just imagining Nick Montgomery in the stands of some NPL ground with a pair of binoculars, just like.
I've seen
going
Popper.
to
I've
try-
seen Popper around the grounds as well. Actually,
just going to try and find the next 16-year-old sort of athletic African looking young person to try and like sign for the squad and become the next godly sort of winger / centre forward.
they
for the
do have a
football
good. They
club.
do have a good eye for talent. I mean, Dor Jock is another player they picked up as well, and he's done pretty well for the NPL side. But yeah, this is a very interesting one. I think he's 25, so this is a very young foreigner in respect. Becca Mikeltadze and also Daniel Pena, also very young foreigners, and they perform very well for the Jets. So hey, who knows? Mark Natter is off to the Jets.
An upgrade on Warland.
I don't know. I like the guy didn't play last year at all. Like
the thing with Natter is at least his turning circle is like better than an Airbus A380. So like if he decides to play in Arthur Pappas's system, then at least he won't just like get caught out every single time that a long ball comes over the top like Jordan and Elsie.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the funny thing with Nata was the fact that he started a few games at the start of last year, and he had an absolutely terrible performance against Melbourne City and was never to be seen again.
Yeah, never played again.
I also don't think I've seen Natter play that much in a back four. Like when
I
that
think
season,
never.
So that season that he was playing like regularly, it was always in a back three under Robbo. So I don't know if he's capable of playing in a back four. Pappas must think so.
Well, he won't have. He won't have Dylan Murnane next to him as he's signed for the Melbourne Knights in NPL. I was super surprised about that, by the way. I know it's very random, but Dylan Murnane should not be playing NPL Victoria. He's
not bad.
He's too good for that level. He had a quite a good season. Moving on. Ben Azubel from Hapoel Ra'anana. He's off to Perth Glory. I'm off to the Holy Land today, guys. I'm leaving at 11 p.m. I'll be on the plane this time in 12 hours. Gonna grab some Nando's after this. He's Israeli second division. I'll be honest, I don't know about this. He's really tall, and he's played for basically all the Hapoel clubs. Hapoel Kfar Saba, Hapoel Nir Ramat HaSharon, Hapoel Petah Tikva, which is actually quite a good club. There's also been also Maccabi Netanya, which is also in the Israeli Premier League. So he's played at numerous clubs. And look, he looks to have quite a good base, although that's not really saying much. Guys, any word on this tall Israeli?
Yeah, just sorry. While you were listing off the names of his club history, I thought I'd just have an ode to Petar Petrov's job covering the Vietnamese league. It sounded like there were more Hapoels and Maccabis there than there are Unions in that league. So
there's so many Maccabis and Hapoels. Hapoel is like, I don't know, it's a weird one.
I could just sense the gears grinding in Petar's head as his memories went back to last week's watching of bloody Vietel FC in the Vietnamese league.
Yeah, and they're one of the better teams. Wait until you see Da Nang and Saigon.
Well, Kwang Gong Hai. I think he's starting for Pau FC in Ligue 2, which is
he's actually good.
Yeah, he's a decent player, man.
One of the very few good ones.
Jerry Skatatis is signed for MacArthur FC. Started in the 2 semi-finals in the A-League and barely played last season. What do you guys think?
I think that Jerry Skatatis looks like the year 2008. Literally, just like look at him. It looks like they've transported someone from 2008 and just chucked him at the base of midfield to play this like super nondescript role, which involves passing the ball like sideways a bunch of times and then just tackling people. If he does that for MacArthur, then sure.
Respect it. This is now his 3rd Sydney club. He's played at Wanderers, Sydney FC. Now he's at MacArthur.
I actually mentioned it on Twitter that it's funny how MacArthur didn't have a defensive midfielder for the whole season last year, and now they've signed 2 in the matter of like 3 days.
Hey,
it's the Ante Milicic being gone effect.
Yeah, maybe.
Dwight York loves Jerry. He loves Jerry Skatatis and Jonathan Asprotamides.
Yeah, I'm sure he's watched all of their games.
Oh, mate, love it. I mean, look, if he can defeat Barcelona, he'd be very close to defeating, Wanderers on like match days 2 or something. I don't know. I want to bring in a special guest, Harper Pestinger. Hi, mate.
Oh, hello. How are you guys?
Very good. Where are you?
Are you at school?
At school? No, I'm not at school. I'm currently in a very cold pool room, kind of out the back of a house in Stawell, in country Victoria. Petar would have absolutely no idea where that is, and I don't blame him. And I'm not being held hostage or anything. I'm actually at a lovely family friend's house, the 78-year-old Denise Stainsby. So if Denise Stainsby tunes in to this after we air, big shout out to you, Denise. Love your work.
Harper, you've got some, oh my God, you got some announcement for us. Are you shaving your mullet off?
Well, I did say in response, I think that tweet was from Alan Riley, speculating that perhaps I'll be shaving my mullet off. But my mullet's really my identity, isn't it? It's just like ripping the soul out of me. So no chance. If I did do that, that would be headlining the bloody 9 News at 6 p.m. So not on the KickCast, just quietly. But the news that has any of it been dangled already, or am I completely getting the exclusive here?
Just go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. So, as you guys all know, at the moment, Kick360 has the KickCast podcast once a week, but Kick360 is going to be adding another podcast to its stable of shows. We don't know what it's going to be called yet, so but I can tell you it's going to be another show. So the KickCast is going to be only hosted by Neil. I believe that's going to go to air every Thursday, every single week, once a week, with the main man, Neil Simons. And then every Monday, I'm going to host the second podcast, which does not have a name as of yet. We were thinking Danglecast, but we haven't fully agreed on it yet. So whatever happens, we'll kick it off in around September. There's nothing to subscribe to yet because it hasn't got a name. It hasn't got a podcast feed. But I thought I'd just dangle the information. So the excitement could really start to reach fever pitch when we hit September.
Very, very keen. There's some more other podcasts coming out soon as well. This is probably the biggest announcement we'll have. Harper, thank you so much. Have you got any comments on anything we've said today? If you've even been watching?
I've not been, but I've been too busy having the time of my life with Denise Stainsby here, mate. She's very hospitable woman. But I should say, I don't think I said that the second podcast that isn't the KickCast, the nameless one, is going to be hosted by me every week. So I'll be hosting a podcast every week, for better or for worse, whatever people think of that.
Definitely for worse. I'm joking.
So yeah, that should be good fun. But what have you guys been talking about this episode?
No, just football and stuff. Yeah,
football, man.
Right. Who would have thought? A-League transfers, I see.
Yeah. We've been talking about this a lot. Big move, hey? You'll see this before.
Massive move. How do you feel about it? Are you excited?
I feel great, man. It's really good to move to North London. I don't know. I don't know, guys. To be honest.
Is that a Wolverhampton Wanderers home kit? I spy. Yeah.
Valencia, 25.
Valencia. Okay, right.
He's joining Tottenham from Valencia.
Yeah.
Big signing.
I'm a Man United fan. I didn't really want to make a 3-hour trip up to Manchester, so I just could not be asked. But
Richarlison one day, Neil Simons the next, Tottenham Hotspur, doing
everything. Apoel Tel Aviv tomorrow, mate. No, that's what's gonna happen. You best believe. Harper, thank you so much for coming on. You can obviously stay tuned to our channels for the new podcast name and whoever will be on it and what have you. Looking really forward to it, Harper. It should be good.
It should be great fun. I look forward to us getting your name firstly and then getting the word out there. Actually, as soon as I leave this, I'm going to be door knocking around the great town of Stawell, getting the Stawell residents excited for this A-League podcast. It's not going to air for another 3 months. Really into a frenzy out here.
2 months.
Should be good.
2 months. Anyway.
2 months. You're right. Cheers. Countdown's on. Anyway, boys. Pleasure being with you. I'll catch you soon. Thank you very much, Neil. Thank you, Tom and Petar as well.
See ya.
Yeah, man.
It's Harper Pesting, everyone. He seems very happy.
Can I just say, let's hope Neil's transfer from Valencia to Tottenham Hotspur works out a bit better than Brian Hill. I'm not sure if or Brian Gill, however you pronounce his name. The other guy who looks like he was transported from 2008 into the present day, except he got no minutes for Spurs last season. Looked quite good at the Olympics against Australia, just randomly, by the way.
Yeah, he's a decent player.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian Gill. I thought you said Hill. I was like, what the hell?
That's how you pronounce his name. It's like Brian Hill.
That's like some Ryan Mahsans type stuff, man. Like the Spanish pronunciations be off-putting. Anyway, I've also got an announcement. I'll be hosting a new podcast with former Adelaide United, or actually a champion of the A-League 2015. Brisbane Roar, Fortuna Sittard, Southampton, Chelsea Youth Academy product, George Mells, current Port Melbourne Sharks player. The name yet to be announced, but you'll see some announcements very, very soon. I don't know what Harper's doing in the lobby, man. It's I don't know what he's doing.
Come on, I'm bloody pumped for this new podcast. I'm just.
I'm sorry. I just had to do that.
Mate, best believe I'll be spreading the word in Stawell in a matter of minutes about the third podcast.
That's if Denise Stainsby lets you out of her basement, mate.
Mate, check this out. Sorry, this isn't great for the podcast audience, but we've got a bloody massive pool table.
Whoa, that's massive.
Got a piano as well. I'm just having the time of my life out here in this little.
Can you play Here Come the Future on the piano?
Oh, geez. Look, it's too much of a musical masterpiece for me to just do something off the cuff. I've got to respect it, you know? Don't just bloody improvise that shit.
Stick to the podcast music.
Anyway, you can kick me back out if you want. I'll just...
Okay, bye. Off-season, we're loose to the off-season, boys. What can I say? But yeah, moving on. Expanded A-League women. This was announced last week. A 20-round season this season, 22 rounds next season. Tom, your thoughts on this? More match minutes for women. means that they're, I guess, more professionalized in some way. It's big. Western United have been granted a provisional license and will play this season, Central Coast next season. Leading into the Women's World Cup, this is a big boost.
I think it's fantastic news. Nothing short of fantastic news for the A-Leagues as a whole. And I think the A-League women it's a very big product for the APL. And I think something that they probably need to do a better job of capitalizing on in terms of attendances and really making sure that they cultivate this professional environment for young women's footballers to perform in the sport, because we're seeing other sort of codes and other competitions really flexing their muscle salary-wise in terms of the professional opportunities that they can provide to these female players in their respective sports. I think the AFLW announced a new collective bargaining agreement for their competition, which involved a 94% pay increase for their women's players, which would involve, I think, some of the highest paid players in that league getting paid around sort of 72,000 Australian dollars a year, which is massive for AFLW. So I think the expanded A-League women professional-wise and for getting a lot of match minutes into these footballers ahead of the World Cup, it's big, and it's a much needed sort of introduction to the Australian footballing ecosystem.
One would definitely hope so. Australia Cup, guys, it's back. The round of 32 starting in 2 weeks, I think. The draw was conducted last Wednesday. We now have the full fixture list. We'll go through, I guess, each fixture and provide our predictions once I get the Wikipedia up, because I'm lazy. But very interestingly enough, these games will be sort of split between the weekend and the sort of the weekdays as well, which I thought was quite interesting in general. But obviously, it's great to have the open draw fully in action now. No like sort of A-League club quotas, which it really is the same vibe this year, because like there's a lot of A-League clubs playing each other. But nonetheless, let's get into this. Bentley Greens up against a Broadmeadow Magic. I'm the self-proclaimed NPL expert here, so I can tell you that Bentley Greens will absolutely wipe the floor with Broadmeadow. Sorry, Jacob Briers. I am very sorry. Northern New South Wales NPL is not that strong. Bonnie Rig White Eagles up against the Oakley Cannons. Oakley should win. They are NPL 1 and the second best team in the league, so I think they'll be fine. Bonnie Rig defeated Hakoah on penalties to get into this, and just because they defeated Hakoah, I wish them a very great loss. Avondale are playing Mindle Aces, and Mindle Aces are the Northern Territory representative. I'm just carrying this, aren't I? Until I get to an A-League thing. Avondale should win. They've had a pretty poor season, although they've just added Golgol Mabratu, who tore his hamstring within 45 seconds of playing, which was actually quite upsetting. I can't even lie. Armadale Soccer Club are playing Modbury Jets. Armadale being an NPLWA. Modbury Jets, I think, are actually State League 1 in South Australia. Really don't know how this will go. Armadale are my predictions to win. First game, guys, that we're going to talk about as a whole collective. Heidelberg United playing the Brisbane Roar at Olympic Village on the 27th of July. Last time A-League opposition played at Olympic Village, I think Adelaide United played Heidelberg, but notably we do remember the Melbourne City game in which 10,000 people packed out Olympic Village to watch Melbourne City win 5-0 against the Burgers. I guess this is sort of a discussion about Brisbane Roar as a whole. Petar, do you see them sort of going off to a great start? Heidelberg have been in good form. For context, they've signed both Costa Petratos and Maki Petratos. They have Kane Shepherd and Ivan Frangic as well, including a former A-League player such as Adrian Zara, who is notably the guy that got absolutely tackled to shit by Kevin Muscat in 2010.
I think we could see a surprise, actually. Brisbane have, aside from Charlie Austin, they haven't been very active on the transfer window, and the fact that like the NPL season is going at the moment, maybe we could see a surprise here. I reckon that Brisbane overall will have a better year this time, but maybe the cup won't be a priority.
Tom?
Yeah, I sort of agree with what Petar said there. I would just like to bring your attention to something though. Optus Sport are now reporting that that Aaron Moy is now a free agent, according to Fabrizio Romano. So
I haven't seen the actual tweet anywhere. Like I'm not denouncing this report entirely, but I know there are some ITK accounts reporting it from like Huddersfield Town.
Maybe he said it on his podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, true. That's a good shout. But like I've seen like a tweet going around. I don't know where this has come from. I haven't seen anything, but I guess we could have a discussion about it in general. Maybe, like he needs football. You know, I mean, we can't deny that the guy needs to play games.
He's far too good to be playing in the A League. With respect,
no.
He is far too good to be playing in the A League. I think I've said it before. Aaron Moy, like literally, if this guy had lateral quickness and the ability to turn, he would be playing for like Real Madrid. Like he's like so good.
He would be Kovacic if he had speed.
Yeah, exactly. He's like genuinely an incredible footballer. Like technically, and his passing range. His just ability to stay calm under pressure. He has this sort of aura about him that he just sort of is so impervious to any sense of pressure. Such a fantastic footballer.
No, actually, beat that. He would be better than Kovacic if he had speed.
Kovacic
it's a big call, man. It's a big call.
Moy's end product is better than Kovacic.
I also think Moy's passing range is better as well.
Yeah.
I think Moy's passing range is incredible.
Insane, yeah.
And on both feet as well. And his crossing as well. Like, there's so many different sort of aspects to Moy's game that I think make him so incredible. And there were people under my tweet sort of saying that he's not capable of playing in a top 5 league anymore. I think that is absolute waffle. I think it is so wrong. Like,
if Leroy George could play games for Fortuna Sittard at 34, there's no reason why Aaron Moy can't play for playing a lower league team.
There's no reason he couldn't play. There's no reason he can't play in Serie A.
No, he's built for Italy. Like, I'd love to see him at Sampdoria or something like that. I'm not sure about their stocks, but I don't know. I mean, he'd be the ideal Venezia player just to see the culture wars there. But
Monza should sign him now.
Yeah,
I think it's pointless to speculate when we actually don't have confirmation from Romano. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Apparently we do. Apparently we do, because there are multiple people on Twitter now reporting this.
I'm not so sure. Anyway, look, I mean, I trust Optus to do their due diligence. If so, then that'd be great. A lot of talk about him going potentially to Celtic, as his wife is based in Glasgow. Nah,
I can't see it.
I don't.
Not for the way Ange plays.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I actually think that with Joe Aribo leaving, it's more likely that he signs for Rangers than Celtic.
Yeah. Although, wait, Aribo's isn't he a striker?
No, he's a midfielder that can play as a 10 and an 8.
Yeah. He's
plays
very
over.
lanky Donny. Yeah, it's interesting to see the Optus Sport poll. Boys mixed move should be almost 50%. People saying Celtic. So, hey, look. Moy got the bag.
Where would Moy play in that team? He wouldn't play as a 6 ahead of McGregor. So would he play as an 8 and a really advanced 8 in Celtic's system? Like, I don't necessarily.
Well, they've got Callum McGregor, who's the 6 there. Matt O'Reilly's also a bench option for them. I mean, they've re-signed Jota, so he's more of a winger though.
In terms of profile, though, he's not someone that fits with what they're doing in terms of having really active pressing free 8s like Rio Hatate,
He's not that quick.
Itaguchi. These types of players who are quite literally
he doesn't really play. Yeah,
they're like mosquitoes, just running around the field and winning the ball back. Moy's not that type of a player.
No, he's not.
He's not. He's a different profile to McGregor as well, and McGregor's the club captain and stuff. He's not going to replace him.
Yeah, looking at the profile of the defensive midfielders they're linked with, like the Vinicius Souza guy, he's not in Aaron Moy. I think Ange just wants a real number 6, more of a destroyer, maybe mostly for the Champions League games. So yeah, I can't see more going there.
especially with Bitton leaving as well.
Yeah,
I think they need that sort of more.
He's off. He's off to Maccabi Tel Aviv, by the way. Neil Beton. So is Rukovic is off to Haifa. Big shout outs to Nikita. Don't think he'll play well, to be honest. But I mean, they've signed fronts in pretty pure day. I don't think Nikita will start there, to be honest. But hey, that's very random Israeli football chat. Anyway, moving on. We were still back in the Australia Cup. Where were we? Yeah, Brisbane City playing Coburn, not Cockburn, Tara. Sorry, it's Coburn at Perry Park. This should be a pretty substantial victory for Brisbane City. In my opinion, Adelaide City playing Logan Lightning. I think Adelaide City will win. Wollongong United, they're not even in the New South Wales system. They're in the Illawarra Premier Leagues. And they're playing Green Gully and Macedonia Park in Wollongong. And then they're playing Green Gully. Green Gully have got a plethora of former A-League players, including Gianluca Iannucci, Yared Abatu. Josh Hope as well is having a really good season for them. I think Green Gully should win. Magpies Crusaders United are playing MacArthur FC. I think MacArthur will win. Foregone conclusion.
I think maybe they'll have like half of the Northbridge guys playing for the senior team in that game.
I think that's pretty reasonable. What's next? Oh, Jets Adelaide. This is pretty interesting. Who will win this one?
I reckon most of these early cup games are pretty random because you don't know like who's fit, who's like been in peak form during the preseason. But I will say Adelaide because I think they have their main core from last season. So I think they'll be better settled, if that makes sense.
All right. Sydney FC Mariners. I think Mariners should win. Sydney FC haven't signed anybody. So until they make some signings, we don't really know. I mean, there are obviously rumored signings that they will, sign, but there's nothing concrete yet. I mean, they were in the box seat to sign Daniel Pena, and that deal fell through. So, bit unfortunate for them. Newcastle Olympic playing against Melbourne City. I'd be very interested to see how Melbourne City play because McLaren's still overseas on his honeymoon. And I'm not sure if they're back for preseason yet. So, I don't know. This could be interesting. I'd be very keen to see where Marco Tilio fits as well. Because, in my opinion, if there's a season for him to start, it'd be this season. Phasing someone like Andrew Naboot out could be the best thing for his development. But will Patrick Kisnorbo bite the bullet?
I don't think Kisnorbo sees him as a wide player. I think he sees him as a wide player in certain situations, depending on the state of the game. But I don't think he sort of prescribes with what Kisnorbo is looking for in wide players in terms of the very rigid way that Kisnorbo likes his teams to function.
Yeah, but I reckon the signing of Richard van der Venne shows that Tilio won't be a cemented starter, which is a problem.
Also Berenguer as well. He's also
Berenguer.
Yeah. Penn Power playing New South Wales Spirit. They're an NPL 2 side. Spirit, Penn Power should win. Devonport City. I got that wrong. All right, never mind. Devonport City are playing Wellington. I think Wellington should win. Sydney United playing Monaro Panthers. Sydney United should win. And Western United Melbourne Victory. I don't know why people are calling this like the greatest rematch of all time. It's just a cup game. Can we relax here? Although I do think Victory should win based upon their signings and how early they've started preseason. But yeah, I don't know. A cup should be interesting. Looking really forward to it. You can catch all the action on 360 in the coming weeks. Last point, guys. I want to talk about the Socceroos press conference from yesterday. Graham, obviously the announcement was that Australia will play New Zealand in Brisbane on the 22nd of September. Arnie was asked about Aaron Moy. Sorry, no, Tom Rogic about where he is and what have you. I will read the direct quotes about Rogic. And it is concerning. It is definitely concerning. And I don't know. We'll sort of discuss this, and obviously we have to be quite sensitive about it. He said I texted him and didn't get a reply. I'm concerned about Tommy. I know the PFA are looking into it. Obviously, it's not a lot to read into, but I see this as a potential huge hole that needs to be filled for the Socceroos World Cup campaign. And to me, it doesn't sound like Tom Rogic will probably. I don't think he'll get a move in this transfer window, and I don't think he will play for the Socceroos the World Cup.
That would be really sad. I mean, we can't speculate about his personal stuff because, like, we don't know what it is, but it would be a massive blow for the Socceroos, actually.
It'd be huge.
Yeah, he gives the team an absolutely other dimension, nothing compared to, let's say, Irvine or McGree or the other guys. So, yeah, it will be a problem if it does happen, if he doesn't get into the squad.
Yeah, I think look, best wishes to Tommy and his family. That move with that Indonesian club move fell through, which I think we're all pretty grateful for. Chase the bag, my guy, but I don't know.
You can chase the bag in a good league. You can go to at least Saudi or something where you can like actually play at a decent level of football.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I worry for Tom. I really hope the PFA are doing their due diligence. They're one of the best operators in Australia sport in general. Like, the work that they've done is incredible. I'm a little bit concerned, and I really hope that Tommy's all good and that there's no sort of strained relationship between himself and Graham. But yeah, I just thought I'd just touch on that because it's an important point to make that Tom Rogic didn't feature in these last two games, and he hasn't been featured in any of the advertising material for the World Cup either. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit perplexing to me, but I can understand it. And, I sincerely wish Tommy all the best. We shouldn't speculate on what it is. If he wants to, take a break from football, then so be it. Okay, cool. Quite a long podcast. 1 hour and 16 minutes. A lot to talk about in over 3 weeks. Any final words, guys?
Yeah, we're talking about the Socceroos squad. Me and Tom have a piece coming out on the site, so look out for that one.
Very keen. Some other stuff coming soon. Hopefully, some more features and stuff. We'll see what happens. The off season is a very long time, and in Australia, it's elongated by another 3 months. Wonderful. Although the A-League season will be starting on the 7th of October, which is quite good. We get a shorter off season. Only 3 months to go, guys. Looking forward to it.
I'm going to cry.
Yeah,
I need that.
3 more months of the B League.
Oh god.
Oh shit.
Any word, Tom?
What? No, just more prayers up for Petar having to watch Nguyen times 22 every week in the B League.
I mean, most people won't believe me, but I've watched Indonesia as well, so it's not better. Tom Rogic, don't go there.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys soon. All the best. You can catch all the content on kick360.com.